Okay, right, so as we were saying, Lamborghini Huracan GT3 V10, 5.2 litre, 500 brake horsepower, plenty of power. So the great thing about this particular car is the sound. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment because you probably can't hear me anyway, but let's just let the car do the talking. Okay. Right. That sounds amazing, as you'd expect a V10 to sound. It actually sounds a little bit more raw than the Audi, which is good. So they've obviously made some good changes with the new sound system on iRacing. Overrun sounds a bit funny though, but it's almost as if all the transmission and the kind of interference that you'd normally get just kind of disappears on the overrun, and it goes into sounding like a, I don't know. I'm not sure what it sounds like, to be honest. So there's the Lambo behind go. Very brightly coloured Lamborghini. Okay, sounds a bit odd, but we'll get used to it over time, I'm sure. But we're just going to take it nice and easy to start off with. We're not going to go too mad. Oop. That one. Bit of an interesting moment through the piff path then. Okay, so even though we're on essentially cold tyres, I know I'm not pushing particularly hard. Doesn't feel too bad in terms of grip. Not check the track temperature. We'll have a look at that in a moment just to make sure that that's in a decent kind of zone. Now the other V10 car in iRacing, the Audi R8, has a bit of a reputation for being quite a tricky car to drive on the limit. You can drive it quite well to a point, but then as soon as you get to the limit it starts becoming a little bit unpredictable, and you can kind of get into these little flat spins. So it'd be interesting to see if I can even make the source. Be interesting to see if this car has a similar tendency to do that. And it's mid-engined as well, just like the Audi. Not the same engine obviously, but be interesting to see if the handling characteristics are slightly different. Don't dare take Eau Rouge flat just yet. We'll feel our way into that. We'll maybe try that a bit later if I'm feeling particularly brave. Is this in front here? Mr. Gareth Mesham on track with us, and Daniel Taylor as well, both from Demon Twix Esports Racing Team. Good to have them on the track with us. We are working on the Demon Tweaks Lamborghini livery for them, so that'll be coming out for them to use very, very soon. It's nice to actually have the proper car for the livery to fit on. We've always adapted it for them in the past for various other cars, so it's nice to have a Lamborghini to actually put the proper livery onto. So far, feels pretty good. Yeah, it would be good to get you back on board, Rob. This car is just sitting here waiting for you. I know how much you love it. It's gone very dark all of a sudden, as if someone's turned the lights off. So we've got a 2-hour session, hosted session up, so if you want to come along and join us and you're watching this and you think, oh yeah, I fancy a bit of that, then by all means come find us in the hosted section on iRacing. It's known as Racing Bible Huracan Test, I think was the name of the server, so come and check it out, have a go. So we're just running a baseline setup for the time being. I'll delve a little bit more into that in a bit when we set some lap times out and just see what kind of times we're producing here. Let's try and get the source right this time, as in not run deep. Feels like there's a little bit of understeer in the car, but I'm sure we can check that out. There is another thing which is new for this season in iRacing, which is they have various setups pre-loaded on the sim ready for using. So if you don't have access to setups, then you can use various ones on there. So they have low, medium and high downforce setups available for you to use, which have supposedly been put together by well-known and respected iRacing drivers, so they should be half decent to have a go with. Yeah, there's definitely a fair amount of understeer on corner entry, as well as when you put the power on to try and pull yourself out of the corner as well. So we'll look to see if we can dial that out if we can. It's on the slower speed corners. The fast corners like Puon though, it seemed to tuck in quite nicely, so maybe it's a driving technique type thing, or just something we need to look at. No, it's not quite flat. Nice 1x off there. Very easy to get an off track there. Blanchiment. Yeah, that could probably well be easy flat. I just had a little bit of a lift just to ensure I didn't fire it off into the undergrowth on the outside of the track. Also with the GT3 cars, there's been a big change in the balance of performance for this season as well. So I know they've done a lot of work with the tyre system to change how the contact patch reacts in-game. And there's also some aero adjustments as well. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out in terms of balancing all the cars together. No, it's not flat. There will have to be a little bit of lift. But so far the car feels pretty solid and pretty stable. This is obviously baseline setup, as I said, so we expect that to get a little bit more edgy as you apply other setups to it. But in its basic form, it's very drivable, so it's encouraging. Such a tricky corner to get right, that one corner with no name. It's just so easy to run wide on the exit. Okay, grip seems to be improving, so whether that's tyre that's coming up to temperature or not, it's too late on the brakes there. However, ooh, well that's encouraging. I managed to save it. With the Audi at that particular point, I just get the feeling that it would have carried on rotating regardless of what I did. So the fact that you're able to pull yourself out of potentially messy situations like that is a good sign. This car is very successful in World Motorsport. It's won in IMSA this year, British GT as well. Wasn't even thinking what I was doing then, hence why I messed that corner up so badly. But yeah, it's a super successful car. It's won in the GT World Challenge Series all around the world as well, so very capable car in the right hands rather than in my hands. Now I know Mr. Mesham behind is very quick, so what kind of times is he doing? 20.5. Yeah, I'm a long way off at the moment, but don't know what setup he's running, so it could be something different entirely. Yeah, that's still too much of a cut there. Just going to let Gareth go here. I'm just going to go back to the pits and then going to change the setup to something else and just see what difference that makes. So here we go. So you simply go to iRacing setups, and then you've got baseline, which is what we're running, and then high downforce endurance, low and medium sprint and endurance setups as well, so you have the higher capacity fuel tank as well. So let's try a medium downforce sprint setup, see how that changes things. And the GP pit exit here, so we straight out rather than trying to go up the inside of Eau Rouge. ABS braking in the GT3 series as well. We can obviously change the amount of ABS that's kicking in, but I must remember to absolutely mash the pedal because you just can in this car. So such a technical section in that one. So you've got to feel like you can get that nose in to all those corners going through there, because it's so key to get a good rhythm going through that section there. I mean, even though when you look at it, there's no real big straights right after them, so in theory it shouldn't really matter too much in terms of carrying momentum or the speed onto the long straights to improve your lap time, but because there's so many corners one after another, if you don't get into a rhythm through there, it's so easy just to throw away lap time, because you just go from one missed apex to another and it just adds up and you just get further and further behind your delta time. So it's so important to get a neat run through those sections of corners, so from Les Combes straight through to corner with no name basically. So yeah, first lap is a bit twitchy going in there. And into the bus stop as well. So it looks like with the run that we had down the last straight section there, it looks like we were having slightly less downforce than baseline, so there we go, that's a big improvement already. We're already 2/10 up through the source, so big difference in lap time already. And with a long lap like this, I was a bit ragged through there, to be honest. You just sit back and let the Kemmel straight come to you. Just seem to kind of die in terms of picking up speed towards the end there. Important to keep it tucked over to the left hand side to open up this right hander here. Downhill braking into here is always tricky. Got to keep it reasonably tight through here. There we go. Nice green numbers is what we like. A bit more understeer going in through there. okay. It was a better run through there. It did feel a little bit messy, but it's okay. We're improving our lap time anyway, so that's the main thing. Just skating around through that. Couple of purple sectors along the way. That's a 2:21.3. Quicker again through then. Still a long way off Gareth's time, but time will come down. Oh, I thought I held on to that then without getting the off track, but oh well. I'm sure when you got a toe, 6th gear will be okay up here, but it just feels like you hit mid-rev range and it just doesn't go any further. Now, I'm pretty sure that this car will get the usual "it's brand new, everyone's going to race it" treatment, which is what usually happens when iRacing, or any simulator in fact, brings out a brand new car. Everyone jumps on it and drives it for the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it may be. But it's whether it's going to stand up against the rest of the cars in the GT3 garage as to whether people continue to use it towards the end of the season. So time will tell as to whether it's going to be a viable option for anyone running GT3. But despite only doing 6 laps in it, already I can see it's going to be a very popular choice, I think. The Audi was always a bit of a hero car. If you drove that and were successful with it, you're pretty handy behind the wheel. The Mercedes was always a safe option. The McLaren is only for those who are incredibly brave. The Ford was a bit more of a specialist's car, and the Z4 was kind of middle of the road and averagely quick everywhere. But as a car that is easy enough to drive, forgiving enough for new drivers, I feel this one will slot in quite nicely for most drivers on iRacing. There's a better run through there that time. I'm going to carry some speed all the way down the straight now, which is good. So the onboard dash display is nice and clear. I've actually got a delta on there as well, so technically don't need the iRacing delta showing me what my lap times are like, but it's also nice to know the individual splits on the left hand side. Bit ragged through that. We got a little bit of dirt on the inside then, which just got us sideways for a moment. But again, we're able to catch the car and save a rather embarrassing into the wall backwards moment. The other plus that I can see as far as a driver's car for iRacing is it does seem to be quite kind over the curbs. The Audi was always very nervous over the curbs, so if you did go on them, then it'd really unsettle the car. But this seems to be a lot better in terms of soaking up the bumps and being more drivable. Yes, no death slide. It's a massive plus, Rob. Although braking early enough for the bus stop is always a plus. Because you end up losing 4/10 like that. We may have to revisit the Audi if they've changed some things with the tyres. Maybe that death slide has gone as well. But for the time being, if you want your if you want your V10 fix, I'd be quite happy with this one. Yeah, we're nearly half a second up, but can't really count that because I had a off-track moment at Lissau. Oh, Aru, sorry. Ooh. So when you start pushing on, the limits of grip start appearing. Let's just take it a little bit easier and just cool those tyres down again and see if we can go again. So what about trail braking then? A lot of front engine cars like the Mercedes, for example. Oh, I said that so abruptly, the Mercedes. But the thing with the Mercedes is you always used to trail brake it quite a bit just to get the front end in, just because you have a great big heavy engine lump over the front axle, so it needed a little more coaxing to get into the corner. Sometimes with a mid-engine car like this, you do need a little bit of trail braking just to help with the rotation, if anything, but also to help with the balance of the car as it turns into the corner, because if you have a engine in the middle of the car, it's a little bit better balanced, but if you do go in a little bit hot, it can be difficult to recover from, so that little bit of trail braking just helps keep everything stable. So we'll see how much of an effect trail braking has with this car. Keep it onto the corner. It seems to get that nose in really nicely into there then. Right, priority goals for Obus this time. There's no off tracks, so let's see if we can achieve that. There we go. That's what we're talking about. So we're up quite a bit. See if we can maintain that all the way through. We seem to lose out quite a bit in the middle sector last time. Purple's good. Ooh. Traction control tried to kick in then the first part of it, so that was a little bit unhappy with how quickly I turned into the first part of Lacombe. Again, traction control kicking in a bit there. Oh, that's much better through there that time. Yeah. It's a better run through the middle of the lap there, so we're nicely up on our time. As is always the case at Spa, you could often find yourself up on your lap time when it comes to the bus stop, and that's where everything just totally evaporates. A bit on the cautious side going in there, you can tell by losing a bit of time, but it's an improvement nonetheless. if you're going to take a near flat through there, you've got to be paying attention, not checking relatives and lap times in the bottom right hand corner. Right, let's go have a look into the setup then. Let's jump out of this and let's go see what options we have to play with. Let's shush the V10 monster for a little bit. Right, so as usual you have tyre pressures which you can change on here. There's an aero calculator on here as well, so if you wanted to really go in depth as to how much wing you should put on, that's the place to do it. Gives you a good idea of what is going on. So front we've got anti-roll bar. It's a bladed anti-roll bar, this one, so there's several different configurations on there. Presumably 3 is the stiffest, yeah, and then you can change whether it's small, medium, large or disconnected, so plenty of options to change on anti-roll bars. It makes quite a big difference in GT3 cars actually, as to how tight and soft the axle behaves over bumps and curbs and weight transitions, etc. So that's quite a useful bit of setup to change. Brake pads are on medium friction here. I may change that to low because that was always the go with GT3 beforehand. You used to run low friction pads, so master cylinders, so you can change the size of the bore size of the master cylinders, which will change how the pressure works, presumably. Yeah, converts the load force into brake line pressure, which affects how the brakes are reacting. Again, to do with brakes, pressure bias over there, so it's running 50, so it's about middle of the road split, which is about normal where I'd put it. Obviously traction control and throttle shape, ABS settings on there, engine maps if you wanted to do some fuel saving, which is for your endurance side of things. Display page, day, night, Magnus qual and qual. Okay, this obviously gives you different readouts on the dash as to what's going on. This one I'm interested in, endurance light package, not fitted, fitted. I wonder what that's got on there, and if they have the big spotlights on the front bumper or on the bonnet, that'd be quite cool. As usual, LED night light strips, we'll change those to red because our car's red. Ride heights, of course, damping, camber caster as usual. Anti-roll at the back. 6th gears in FIA spec or IMSA Daytona spec. So Daytona's a longer ratio. Oh, I don't want to go longer because it's already long enough. Diff preload could be quite useful for balancing the car through and out of corners, wing settings, etc. So that's about it. So there's a little bit of notes about this particular setup, the medium downforce actually. So it's quite useful. They've got a bit of info in there if you wanted to check things and change things. So as for us, what track temp are we looking at here? We're on 40 degrees, so that's pretty high. So let's see, can we go down? No, we can't. Okay. So what are we needing the car to do more of? Let's see if we can increase our front end tires. It's already stiff front anti-roll bars in the front. Let's change. One of my favourite changes to do, I'm going to put that down to low friction, see what happens there. One of my favourite things to do is to change the weight transfer on the compression, on the low speed rebound damping, etc. But on here it's only got looks like fast rebound and damping, because it's talking there about bumps and curb strikes rather than weight transfer, so there's not much you can do with that. What should we do? Let's change the diff preload then. So we want to add more locking, adds understeer off throttle, adds oversteer under acceleration. Let's take that down a little bit and see what happens there. Right, let's get back on track. This Huracan, another thrashing. Do love a good V10 sound. Must remember cold tyres, you can't be going flat out through Eau Rouge. So there were a couple of iffy moments on our quick lap, if I seem to remember, through this section. So there is definitely time to be had. And truth be told, it's been a while since I've properly driven anything in iRacing. I've been doing a lot of other sims recently, so just trying to get back used to how the sim feels and how the cars behave, etc. But having spent some time away from iRacing, you come back and you do appreciate that there has been a change from where it was when you left. So it's good that they are making adjustments for the better. And if anything, normally I would be a bit wary of force feedback on iRacing because it never really felt like the car was connected to the road, but I have to say in the Lambo it does actually feel pretty well stuck to the ground, so it's a nice surprise, I suppose. We have a mad Lamborghini. Mr. Daniel Taylor, what are you doing? We're going to go at cheating now, we're going to get a toe off him, so this is going to improve our lap time no end. Ooh. Dead at Amber in the middle of the track. Yeah, I didn't have a great run through Eau Rouge, so Dan didn't want me stealing his toe. Yeah, still definitely a fair amount of understeer through there. A bit of oversteer turning in then as well. So optimal's down in the 2:20 mark, so it is possible to do those kind of lap times. Just need to put it all together. It's so difficult, that corner. Never quite know how much speed to take through that. We had a purple sector 3, so that's encouraging. Keep it. No, don't keep it pinned. Or at least put a bit more steering lock into it. Okay, let's try and go for a nice clean lap this time. So a little bit down out of the source, so let's see if we can carry some speed up the hill. The car's dancing over the top of Eau Rouge. Don't need any help to beat you down, I'm sure. That's a good lap time you put in there though, to be fair. So I've still got 3 tenths to find. I'm not quite up to speed yet with these GT3 cars, so there we go, that's a bit neater through there. Thank you for the host. That's alright, no problem, Robert. Glad you have joined us. There we go, that's a bit better out of there. It's always nice when people who join hosted rooms thank the host for hosting the session. Stick, no. That was trying to be too ambitious going in there. Right, okay. Let's... Oh, look at that, endurance lights on. Yes. That looks amazing. Okay. So what can we do then? What can we do? Don't want to go too aggressive on the camera because that's just going to ruin our tyres. What if we soften the anti-roll bars a little bit? I'm going to leave the same diameter, but it's going to take a little bit of the ARB blades out. Let's see what that does. Be interesting to see the effects of changing that and softening it off. What it might well do is it will just increase the mechanical grip across the front axle. If it's too stiff, any bumps will end up kind of unsettling the whole axle, and then you lose braking performance if you're in the brakes, or steering performance if you're coming out of a corner and you hit the bumps. It'll just make the car just a little bit nervous. So if we soften those off a little bit, let's see what happens with that, whether we get a bit more body roll and help with these corner transitions, because there's so many of them. So far so good, but hang on the outlap. Did we already see the iRacing setups menu? Yes, we did. There's a few options in there. Oop. It's quite good that iRacing have done that, though. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there who may not necessarily want to subscribe for iRacing setups, but still want to be competitive, but don't necessarily know how to build them themselves. So it's good to give the options there so that people can just load a standard setup and have a shot of being competitive in races, which is what iRacing is obviously all about, is having fun going out and doing races. So it's good that they've added that feature in there. It might help increase the enjoyment for a lot of people. The thing is with Spa, because it's such a long lap, sometimes you actually forget you're still on your outlap. Right. Well, that's also encouraging. We've gone purple in our last sector there, so not the greatest turn one, being honest. How will this transition between the left and right down here work between Radion and Eau Rouge? Pretty good. Pretty good. Into cruise mode in 6th gear. Okay, here we go. There's definitely time to be made up through there. Didn't quite get the car stopped like I'd like to into there, so I was kind of having to cadence brake into there just to keep the car slowing down, but not so much braking involved that just washes out too early on the turn in then. So Rob, you know we're talking about death slides. They're back! Okay. Let's just try. Let's just go high downforces for a lap to see what happens, see how slow we are in a straight line. Just reply to this private message as well, just so. There we go. Right. Let's try this out then, come on. Feeling a bit remiss that I can't get close to Mr. Mesham or Mr. Taylor right now. Obviously doing something wrong, so need to fix it. Outlap cold tyres, must remember. You're going to be lucky to even see a yellow light on the dash at this rate. Being a high downforce setup, you've really got to maximise this middle section to get all the lap time you need. There will be high downforce, but there's certainly a load of understeer in the slow stuff. It's warming the tyres up. It's fun. That'd be a lesson to everyone. Don't brake with your outside tyres on the grass or curb. Doesn't work. So just watch our delta just tick down here, presumably. So that's 10th lost. Two tenths lost. You only gain 0.12 back in that last section there, so what you lose in lap time down the straight, I'm not entirely convinced we're going to make up through the corners with the high downforce setup. I think you just also get just destroyed in a race down here as well with people running lower downforce setups. Most frustrating thing, just sitting here, foot to the floor, you're taking over just as flat as you can, and the time just keeps ticking and ticking away. So that's the 10th back through there. I don't think it's going to be the way to go. Still turning in too early for Pouan. Tell you what, let's just go back and make some changes. Did we didn't adjust the brake friction? No, we didn't. So let's go. Let's try the low downforce one. So yeah, I mean, we're a long way off. We're a good second off, which is a long amount of time, so obviously longer laps also increase the distances between lap times as well, so okay, low downforce, cold tyres, Eau Rouge, rally on, no. Be super careful. Okay. Now it feels a bit like we're driving on ice. Traction control trying to kick in. Yeah, I was running medium sprinter originally, and I've changed and just testing out a couple of other ones as well. It's definitely not the low set. Right, let's go back to the medium because that's not working. Going to the wrong place. Medium downforce sprint, right. So what am I doing? Maybe do I need to bring my braking points back a little bit, possibly. It'll explain why I'm kind of, the back end's trying to come round on me into the piff path, so I need to bring that back a little bit. Maybe trail just a little bit more. Speeding in pit lane. Rookie error. What I really need to do is get a solid stint of laps underneath my belt, because you're never going to set quick lap times if you're on cold tyres. So let's go out, survive this first lap, and see if we can improve from there on in. Yeah, I'm getting the feeling I'm going to have to trail quite a bit. Just trying to coax the front end in. It's it does go in quite well as it is, but some particular places it needs a little bit more encouragement. Dashboard lights flickering at me, AC and ABS. AC. Yeah, the aircon is getting hot in here. The traction control and the ABS both flickering at me. Yeah, I'm getting the idea. It's probably 2 or 3 laps in. It's when it starts to really pick up in its grip. So many straights here, you just kind of hanging around waiting for the next corner to come up. Just a breath of a lift on the throttle just to make sure you get through there safely on the outlet. Probably my apex speed was a bit low there. Let's get the line through here right. It's a bit better. Yeah, it is nice to drive, even on the basic iRacing sets. We'll see what happens when those of the setup world get their hands on it and what speed they can unlock with it. That was a bit too quick into there, to be fair. Yeah, the increased trail braking is also probably to do with the high track temps in the 40s as it was. It's probably dropped since then, but the extra temperature will negate or require the use of more trail braking just to sort the car out. Yeah, so there's a secondary touch on the brake just on that apex just to get the nose in a bit more. Yeah, so probably needs to get my minimum apex speeds up a little bit somehow. Maybe just over slowing the car a little bit. There we go. It's better through that time. Whee! What was that? Didn't know if I locked the rears then. It's alright. Only happened at the start of the lap, so it's fine. We've just got a whole another lap to wait until we can start again. Let's go on then, Gareth. What am I doing wrong? Tell me what's up. What am I doing wrong? What am I missing? Spill your secrets. I wonder if I need to go down to second for that first part there. I don't really want to because it'll just cost me momentum. Whoa. Now my tyres are a little bit warm, that's probably why they're reacting the way they are after the spin. Yeah, I thought it would be third gear through there. Am I trying to be a bit too keen on the throttle through Lake Holm? More brake to the front, says Arjen. Okay, might be worth a try. Okay, so basically what you're saying, guys, is there's lots for me to work on. It's got it all wrong. Okay, let's brake a little earlier. Ah, now the truth comes out. Fast left and off track, okay. More curb on the entrance to pit path. Yeah, just like that. So we've kind of got ourselves to a point where we've set a 221.0, and from then on we've never been able to get anywhere near it. Hit a brick wall. Despite having moments of speed, it's just not all coming together. Second gear is not the go through that. A small off track, so like all of Eau Rouge. Just straight line it now. Yeah, I'd normally give you first gear at the bus stop, but I think I just didn't on that occasion. And despite my lack of ability to drive currently, I am actually really liking the car. So if you're on the fence about potentially picking up this car thinking, oh, I've got loads of GT3 cars already, I would probably advise you to pick this up, purely because you just can't look past that V10 sound, for one, and it also drives really quite nicely. Going to just put the brake bias back down just to try and increase our rotation. Yeah, so that's much better that time through that. Right, no off tracks this time, not allowed. It's a better run through that. Okay, so slow on the way into Lakon. I'm not going to take as much curb this time because I was obviously just too much last time. So let's see if we can slow it down a bit. Yeah, that was better. So better run through the middle. Okay, well we're up so far. Only marginally. It took quite a bit of concentration through that. Let's see if we can nail the bus stop. Well, that's better. 20.8. Whoa. So it happens when you go in Audi. Audis have a tendency to do that. It's the first one that we've seen in the session, but it happens. There's an apex there somewhere. Right, let's just... traction controls on 6s. 11 to 4. Because it is cutting a little bit, but let's just see if that's just interfering in a way which is going to hinder us a little bit. Display settings, yep. I'll give that a look in a second. So we're on day at the moment. Let's change that to night mode. There we go. So it darkens everything off. It's pretty cool. I can probably see quite a few people running with night mode anyway because it just looks pretty nice. So Magnus Qual. So it's got a few things highlighted there. So it looks like tyre pressures, it's showing there in the green boxes on the right, on the left. So that's tyre temperature as well, maybe. Okay. And Qual just has pressures. Oh, that's quite cool. It's got a gain and loss bar, delta bar on the dash, which is quite nice. Too busy looking at the dash, I forgot to change up. It's quite a nice feature. I know the LMP1 cars have had changeable dashes before, which obviously have a lot of information on those things, but that's quite useful for changing things out. So I'm going to stick that back on day. So what's our temps are up a little. Let's just knock our tyre pressures up all around. Let's just go a bit more dramatic. Let's do 2 clicks all around. And let's see what happens. We're on... So yeah, the track temp's gone up to 44. That'll probably explain why we've not gone any quicker, to be fair. Because track temp does have a massive effect on lap times on iRacing. As does having cars running around on track. So back on cold tyres again. So this is what effect the tyre pressures will have on this. So it should hopefully show us how quickly they pick up temperature and pressure. I mean, we're P4 overall in the session, so that's not too bad. Not too displeased with that. Caught it.
Thank you, Volker. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's good to have people thanking. It's awesome. So we're on the old tyre model, well not the old tyre model, but previously what you wanted to do was keep your tyre pressures as low as possible, really. So putting them up is probably going to increase the temperature just too quickly, especially for a race situation. Whether that's changed how things work with the new updates they've made to the tyre model, we'll soon find out. Lost time over the top there, wasn't direct enough. Also, with raising the tyre pressures, we should get less rolling resistance, so in theory we should be quicker down the straights, but not when you mess up the run onto the straight. Too bad. Didn't really want to turn into that corner at all. Bit better through Pooh on that time. Oh, we're up on our time still, which is good. This is only our first full flying lap after coming out of the pits, I think. There we go. 20.7, it's better. And the downshift do sound awesome. Getting used to the sound a bit more now. I was a bit worried about it to start off with, thinking that the overrun sound was a bit off, but I am getting used to it now. It sounds pretty good. That's a better run over the top. Hopefully this will increase our chances of going forward in lap times, because the temperature should get better and better as we go. Saved it. Felt a bit like Ken Block then, not gonna lie. Was probably a little bit too quick into that corner then, which made that over rotation happen. Yeah, setting purple lap time, or purple sectors is positive sign. Can't do the 24-hour line and go all the way around the outside there, because iRacing won't allow it. Backing into the source, just as you do. Even though your majority of the time through Evolution Radion is flat, there's still a challenge in these cars. You still have to do a little bit of throttle balancing just to maintain the car on the straight and narrow. Okay, I think we need to look at some of those epic moments. So it was into Rivage on the previous lap, so let's get to here. This is just a generic iRacing paint that we've got on here, so we'll do our own livery for it very soon. Okay, chase. Very slidey. Okay. How long have we got left in this session? 40 minutes left in the session. Oh, listen to the popping and banging on there. Wow. So compression on the front, so let's just soften that off a little bit. rear. Let's do the same. Let's do 2 clicks softer, front and rear. Hang on, rewind that. Oh, that sounds amazing. Okay. Welcome to the how to mess up a car setup with Phil, and how to get out of the pit lane without using a pit limiter as well. All the best tips are found on this channel, you know. Okay. This time we're out without having a black flag. So we've softened off the compression, which is on the bump, which is basically how quickly the damper is forced upwards when it hits a curb or a bump. So we've softened that off, which in theory will mean that the damper will fire up into its canister, into its holder quicker. So let's see what effect that has on the car handling. Obviously bearing in mind we've got to warm those tyres up once again. Trying to be as smooth as I can through Puan, just because any kind of wheel waving moments through there is just going to cost you time and hurt your tyres as well. Missed the apex on the first part of the Piff Puff. That instantly feels better going through curve 4 for air. Actually, I could take that much quicker than I did before, so let's see if it stays that way. Just a little confidence lift through here on the first lap. Take the off track. Rotated out of there quite nicely. Slightly different way of taking that. That's just to kind of slow it down a little bit more before I turn in, rather than trying to trail it right into the apex. Feeling pretty good so far. There we go, another purple sector. Wow, that's a lot of time to do there. Just tell that the sun's gone a little bit on the game here, so could be that the track temp's dropping slightly. Which would certainly yield a bit more grip. better laps so far, which is good. A little bit deep into the bus stop, but we got away with it. Another improvement, 2 minutes 20.497. It's a bit more like it. Oh, no! Irons off. Too late on the apex. Didn't get the car turned in like I'd like to then. Yes, definitely better to get it turned in earlier through there. No. That's too late on the brakes. That's what that is. Okay, so let's wrap this up then. So, thoughts on the Lamborghini. 1, it looks awesome, as you'd expect a Lamborghini to look. 2, the sounds, phenomenal, especially on the downshift with the popping and things. That's just, yeah, it's just so good. 3, how it drives. I'm impressed with it. I think that with a bit more work on the setup it could unlock a little bit more pace out of it. But it's reasonably forgiving to drive. I mean, I know I've had a few spins just on the last few laps there, but I think it's pretty good in terms of being forgiving. So as we saw that 1 or 2 laps where I was just backing into corners, you can actually get away with doing that a little bit. Whereas I think before, if the rear end of the car were to come round, it would probably just be gone and you would just have no chance of getting it back. So that's a big positive on the car of how it drives. Curbs is good. It doesn't have too much issue with taking curbs, which is always nice. We should make it quite strong around Monza as well, because I know people are always looking for pace around there, and you know, when you've got in GT, for example, the Porsche RSR around Monza is not particularly good over the curbs, and the Ferrari is, so people tend to go with the Ferrari there. So it's a good plus to have compliance on the curbs, just for all-round drivability, really. But other than that, I think the car is very, very good. Definitely worth a go, worth getting involved with. GT3 might well have another resurgence this season just because of the new car. I know the BMW M4 GT3 is coming in the next couple of weeks, according to iRacing, so it'll be interesting to see how the updated BMW comes. So we've obviously got the Z4, which will probably drop out of the service now, being as it's rather old. So new GT3 cars on the horizon. So I think they're trying to get a bit more of their customer base back from ACC, which is currently probably taking a lot of GT3 fans away from iRacing as well. So it's good to see that they're making progress in terms of the tyres. They do feel pretty good. They're not like ice the first time you go out of the pits now as well. So that was one of the main problems I had with the new tyre model, is it like we had no grip whatsoever. So it's good that that's improved as well. But yeah, so Lamborghini Huracan GT3 EVO, we like it. We think it's very, very good. And I shall look forward to driving this a little bit more in the future. So hope you enjoyed the stream this evening. if we've taught you anything, it's probably more to put your pit lane speed limiter on and don't crash, really. It's probably the most important things you can take away from this video. But we hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please hit the like button below. We'd really appreciate that. And feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content coming from us. We'll do some more instructional type videos as well as fun, educational and challenge type videos, so plenty more to come. And so we look forward to seeing you very, very soon. But until then, take care, and we'll see you next time.